It's time for the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, presented by No Vape, Idaho Public Television's campaign to raise awareness about the dangers of youth vaping. Be smart, don't start. We are talking District 1 and 2 athletics and activities in the great state of Idaho. Brandon Baney joined by our North Idaho expert, Ryan Scaggs. No time for pleasantries. He's drinking out of a mug. Good to see you. Let's get to it. Girls state basketball.
We're not gonna mess around today. Let's go.
We're really gonna put my traffic cop skills to the test here. So, girls state basketball, and then we'll talk state wrestling, and then we'll update the boys basketball district tournament brackets. But from the week that was in girls state basketball, Scaggs, let's give a shout out to our North Idaho champions. Let's start with the Coeur d'Alene Vikings at the 5A level. They repeat. It was a very difficult season this year. Coach Nicole Simmons picked up career win number 100 in the championship over Lake City. It was an all North Idaho final, 58-49. There were injuries throughout the season. There was some off-court distractions with the team. They never really were fully healthy and engaged until basically right before state. And as they showed, they're pretty darn good. They climbed the top of the mountain again and win 58-49 over Lake City.
Yeah, I mean, hats off to a phenomenal season from Coach Simmons and her crew. You looked at it and you hit on it too, that they weren't at full strength most of the season. And kind of the question mark we had coming out of that post-Falls game was like, are they going to get contributions from somebody, outside of, Tegan Colvin or Maddie Mitchell? And Brooksley showed up in the state playoffs and just went off. And then that semifinal game that she had was, I think, one of the kind of unsung moments. I think she played her tail off in that game against Boise, and having to do it the hard way. I thought they had the tougher draw of anybody in the bracket. And they punched their ticket and earned their way there. And hats off to Lake City. I mean, a great season as well. And, defeating a really good Rigby team in the semis. And, that's a group that had a lot. And there was a lot of accolades kind of following that team. I think you can't say overachieve, but you look at like the body of work through the season. Lake City was the more surprising team, in my opinion. I think Coeur d'Alene kind of had the target on their back and they had to go through their things, and find their way to the championship. Lake City was playing with house money most of the season. I mean, they knocked off Boise early and they just carried that momentum through the season. Coeur d'Alene had to figure things out late and, obviously proved that they were the better team at the end, but, rattling off 2 consecutive wins over their crosstown rival. And, that was just a huge game and a great win for Coach Simmons and her team. I mean, that was a phenomenal season by the Vikings and another great season by the T-Wolves as well, kind of overcoming that, missing the state tournament last year and that, surprising upset and, showed up this year. And that group, I know that they're going to be missed in the halls at Lake City, but, 2 phenomenal teams and, high ceilings for star players for both those teams. I mean, you talk about some missing pieces next year that you're going to have to replace from both those programs that, had great careers. I mean, Avery Waddington and Sophia Zufelt and Tegan Colvin and Maddie Mitchell and those departing players, man, they're Kalia Frazee, I'll throw her in there too. Doesn't get talked about a ton also. So, I mean, yeah, a lot to be said in a short amount of time.
Yes, to summarize quickly, Coeur d'Alene hit their threes. Lake City did not, and Coeur d'Alene really shot the ball well from the arc in all 3 games and just caught fire, and that really propelled them to the win. Our 5A tournament MVP, IdahoSports.com selects all tournament teams, not just for 5A, but every classification. They all deserve the same level of respect and attention. Our 5A MVP for the state tournament, no surprise, Tegan Colvin. 26.7 points per game, 6 boards per game, 3.7 assists per game, and she shot it well every night. So congrats to Tegan.
Just took over games. I mean, when they needed her, she showed up, hit the big buckets, and took over the game. And hats off to a great career for Tegan. And she's going to go on to a really, really good Lady Rebels team. They're in the driver's seat right now in the Mountain West, and she's going to join a great program down there in Vegas.
Yep, going to UNLV. The rest of our all-tournament team selections, her younger sister, Brooksley Colvin, was our defensive MVP of the tournament. She routinely guarded. She guarded Avery Howell. She guarded Avery Waddington. She picked up the best player on each opposing team. Avery Waddington and Sophia Zufelt from Lake City make the all-tournament first team. Maddie Mitchell of Coeur d'Alene makes the second team. Kalia Frazee of Lake City makes the second team. And then Kelsey Carroll, honorable mention for Coeur d'Alene as well. She was the MVP, the IdahoSports.com player of the game for that state championship game. She hit a 3. She pulled down several big rebounds. She finished in double figures in scoring and really, held her own against taller Lake City opponents inside. So way to go, everybody there. It was just a fun tournament to cover and be a part of. So really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Our next champion, Scaggs, is from Kendrick. Oh yeah, the 1AD2 Tigers got to the state championship game as freshmen, fell short to Tri-Valley that year. I was there. That was my first tournament for IdahoSports.com. And they got back as seniors and pulled it off in overtime over Dietrich, 55-53. Not only was it a win for these Kendrick seniors, but before the game on Saturday morning, I was helping set up at the Idaho Center, and Ron Ireland, the Kendrick coach, came over to talk to me for just a quick second. And he basically said, hey, win, lose, or draw, this is my last game. And so he is retiring. And I think the people in Kendrick had kind of known that, but it's been a great career for him leading. He's coached Kendrick boys. He's coached Kendrick girls. He's done it all in a long storied career there at Kendrick. And to end your career with a win in the championship, it's a pretty good way to go out.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to ride off in the sunset, hat in hand. I mean, like that's, you talk about going out on top. That's a great way to go out. And those girls, man, they played their tails off in a whale of a ball game. That was a phenomenal game between those two teams in that championship. And you talk about getting hitting your free throws. I mean, the fundamentals won that game for Kendrick in the championship. And so you look at what they did and start to finish throughout the season, just playing a tough schedule, the stories they get to tell, going to Alaska and having that trip, and then all those things that kind of build through those experiences throughout the season, and Deary pushing them the way they had throughout the season as well. And Deary going on and having a great tournament in their own right, not making the championship necessarily, but still having a great showing. But that Kendrick girls team, man, they were loaded for bear. And you talk about an awesome last year and a half for that community in Kendrick, and they're not done yet. That boys team still got some noise to make too next week. So yeah, it'll be fun times if you celebrate. You get 2 state championships in the same season for basketball if it happens with the boys team. I mean, I don't know how many times that's been done in the state of Idaho, but that'd be a pretty darn cool experience for that community.
Pretty epic for sure. So yeah, Kendrick wins the title in overtime over Dietrich. Dietrich came back on him in the fourth quarter. And so for Kendrick to lose the lead and then rally in overtime was a great story. And then Deary takes third. They beat Council in the third place game, 44-39. I was actually broadcasting that game for IdahoSports.com, and Deary just imposed their will inside. Araya Wood was driving to the basket and getting a lot of buckets. Kennedy Kirk did well inside. They almost got to the championship, Scaggs. They lost to Dietrich by 3 in the semifinals, 29-26. We almost had our second all North Idaho final. Almost. And
we talked about them, how they were severely underseeded and underrated throughout most of the season. And, they came out and, that was just, I think, you talk about a couple missed opportunities on trips down the floor, and they could have been in the state championship game very easily. But, it doesn't take away from the season the Mustangs had. They had a great season as well. But, North Idaho just, in my opinion, showed out. I think that they I don't want to say overachieved, but you look at the ceilings or the floors about as far as where they went. I think that they went above. I would have liked to have seen Grangeville and make the state championship game. Same with Timberlake too. But those draws were so tough in both those classifications. And Lakeland, in my opinion, absolutely exceeded expectations with what they did. And I know that they ran into a buzzsaw in their semifinal game, but you can't take away from Coach Derek and the job that he did with that crew through the district tournament, and that momentum carried into state. And they just played their tails off at 4A. And so you look at top to bottom as North Idaho as a whole, I think had a phenomenal tournament. I really do. They exceeded expectations.
To the delight of everybody, first time since 1995, not a single team from District 3 was playing for a girls' state championship. I know you had a good convo about that on Twitter with some people, Scaggs. I saw that this week.
That's all right. I'll take the victory. I'll take the victory lap.
For sure. Our 1A D2 MVP of the tournament, as selected by the IdahoSports.com broadcasters, Ruby Stewart from Kendrick. 13 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, 3.3 steals per game on the defensive end as well. Well earned for Ruby Stewart. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Yeah, great player and on a great team. And they were able to break through their senior year, and that program's, they got some more athletes in that school too. I got a chance to actually watch the JV boys play before that varsity game, and you talk about these underclassmen at these smaller schools, like Kendrick is deep. I mean, at all grade levels. So, but yeah, Ruby Stewart, great season. Puts the feather in the cap to kind of walk out on this one, and a great job by that Kendrick team.
Yep, for sure. The all-tournament team for the 1AD2 girls as well. Natalie Kimbley of Kendrick was the sixth man of the tournament. We had Araya Wood from Deary make the first team. Harley Heimgartner from Kendrick make the first team. Second team, Kennedy Kirk from Deary. And then the honorable mentions, Haley Anderson from Kendrick got the nod there as well. Okay, those were our two champions from North Idaho. We won't go as in-depth on the other tournaments. I do want to briefly, though, talk about the 2A state tournament and what happened there. Grangeville playing North Fremont in the semifinals. North Fremont's basically fouled. They hit a bucket to tie the game with like a second left, Scaggs, and a foul is called. It's an and one. North Fremont makes the free throw. They win by a point, 43-42. It's very tough when that happens. I asked one of our broadcasters from IdahoSports.com that was on the call. I won't say which one, but I basically said, like, hey, was it a foul? And he said, I don't know that I would have called it, basically is how he phrased it. And essentially you want the players to decide it, right, in the final moments of the game. But then, to be fair, I asked him, I said, okay, so you just watched Bear Lake win the state championship. I'm like, could Grangeville have beaten Bear Lake? And he said, it doesn't matter. They couldn't beat North Fremont. So he wasn't having any part of my hypotheticals, but for Grangeville, that is a tough pill to swallow. They fall in the third place game to Coal Valley Christian. I'm sure that's the matchup we were expecting to see in the championship, not the third place game. It was just a bummer of a way for Grangeville too. Now, the good news is only one senior. They're going to be so much motivated to get back and make sure that doesn't happen again next year.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about the locker room motivation in the next season. I don't know if I want to be anybody facing the Bulldogs next year with, Coach Barger does such a great job there too. And, you talk about, she's going to have that team absolutely ripping and raring to go next year. There's going to be a lot to prove. And I was listening to that game actually too. And our crew, I'll give them hats off. Like, you couldn't tell if there was any bias on whether or not that call should have been made. They stayed incredibly neutral. And, it took me seeing the play on Twitter to be like, oh, yeah, like it's a 50-50 call. And I never want to criticize any official. Like, they got the toughest job of anybody at the state tournament. Like, every one of those games is a high echelon game. And so, everything's on a razor's edge as an official in those tournament games. And, that was what they called. And they got to stick by their call. And, at the end of the day, it's like, I'll let them defend their call. So, but, Grangeville had opportunities to put it away too, and they didn't take those opportunities as well. So, when you leave points on the floor on the offensive end, it can come back to bite you a little bit.
And that's always the caveat. And I think Coach Barger would tell us that, that, hey, we had multiple chances to win this game before that final play. So
yeah, it shouldn't have got to that last play. Like they would have taken care of business before that.
Right.
And hats off to North Fremont for getting the win. Like,
yes, for sure. 2A all tournament team. We had nobody make the first team from Grangeville. I think that speaks to the balance of what a good balanced team they were. Madeline Green, Addison Vanderwall both make the second team. Honorable mention, Maddie Thacker of Grangeville. Also Macy Jerome from Kellogg. Kellogg goes 2-0 at state as the number 8 seed there. Okay, 4A, Lakeland takes fourth place. They fell to Pocatello in that third place game, 56-44. I was really impressed with their first round win over Bishop Kelly. They won by 3. I don't think a lot of people were expecting that, because Big Bad BK, I said, hey, Lakeland's pretty good. Just keep an eye on it. They had a nice tournament. Here's who made the all-tournament team from Lakeland. We had Landry Simon make the second team, and then Karsten Kiefer and Peyton Sterling each made the honorable mention squad as well. So way to go, Hawks.
You look at that first team. I mean, come on. Like, if you put that up real quick,
it's a good
how many
team.
of those are going D1? I mean, like, let's be real. How many of those girls are going D1?
Probably
4 out of 5.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like second team. I mean, Landry Simon played her tail off. She had like some great games. And then, there's a few other Lakeland players that played really well that aren't on this list too. So, I mean, Coach Derek had that team so motivated and did a great job. We already mentioned it a little bit ago, but that's I think a season that you look at the North realistically should have had 2 bids. And that you put a play-in game somewhere in there. That Sandpoint team should have been in the mix too, but Lakeland, they didn't just sneak in by the skin of their teeth. They won a game at state and finished in the top 4. They proved that they belonged.
Yep, for sure. One fun note about Lakeland, we were on the call for the semifinal game against Shelley because it was in the Idaho Center this year. And so we had the wireless mic. We were doing coaches interviews. So we interviewed Coach Derek before the game. Sean Kane went over there to interview him. And he basically said, like, hey, are there any cool stories or like, fun notes about your team that we may not know? And Coach Derek goes, yeah, I found out my players have horrible taste in music.
I heard that. That was awesome. They don't like rap. I was like, I didn't know that Coach Derek was such a curmudgeon. Like, yeah. But that was pretty funny.
It was a good time for sure.
And he's like, it wasn't even the good rap. It was like the new rap, not the old stuff that geezers like you and me like. But, yeah.
Right. 3A tournament. Timberlake takes third. They beat Parma pretty convincingly, 46-27. In the third place game. They fell to Snake River by 12 in the semifinal. Good run there for the Tigers. Here's the all tournament team. Diana Nelson from Timberlake, our defensive MVP of the tournament. And then we also had Peyton Young make the first team, and then Kirsten McKellips qualify as honorable mention. So nice tournament for Timberlake, coming home with a trophy. And then finally wrapping it up with the 1A D1 tournament, Scaggs. It was Lapway falling in the championship to Grace in a close game, 47-40. Prairie takes home the third place trophy over Oakley, 60-41. Really, I think Grace's size caused some problems for Lapway and forced them to, they didn't get as many high quality looks at the basket as they're used to, but still a great season for both Prairie and Lapway.
Lapway is so good at dribble penetration, and they couldn't with the size down low. The lane just wasn't there, and that was where they struggled. So they had to pick and choose their shots, and it kind of got them off their game. And hats off to the the season they've had, and Prairie had. I mean, it was like 1A and 1B coming out of the White Pine League. I mean, those are both really, really solid programs, and they're going to be back. I mean, there's players there that like those teams are not going to fade off into the sunset. And as we look towards 24-25 school year next year, in the White Pine, you get Kendrick coming up to the White Pine League and the new 2A. Like, come on. I mean, like, give that league needs a third bid. Are you kidding me? You got like, yeah, that's just and some of those teams that were young this year are going to get better next year. Like Camia is going to be in the mix. You're going to have that league is just going to be absolutely crazy good next year. So, yeah, hopefully there's a 2.5 bid league next year, but I don't think that that's the case. But I mean, of all the years that there should be, that would be the one. But
this would never happen, but we've talked about the big elephant in the room for 1A D1 is District 3, right? They always get 2 teams. They always go 2 and out. They always go 2 and out. Can we do a relegation type system? Like, hey, you get 1 bid until you actually win a game at state. Once you win a game, then we'll discuss maybe getting a second bid.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
Anyways,
it's frustrating, man.
1A D1 all tournament team. Sage Elvin of Prairie, our defensive MVP. And then on the first team, Jaden Layton from Lapway, QB La Mitchell from Lapway, both made the first team. Samara Powaki made the second team, also from Lapway. Kylie Schumacher of Prairie hit the second team also as well. So congratulations to all of the.
You're going to rob Lexi Schumacher of having her name called too?
Oh, yeah. Lexi Shoemaker as well from Prairie. First team, yes. So yes.
But no, great seasons by all of them. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. It was a good run for sure. All right. State wrestling, Scaggs. We covered a lot of this on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast last night. all our wrestling diehards, of course, plugged into that. You can watch that on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitter account. You can also listen to that at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts. But for people who may not be as in tune, aren't tuning into the Matt Chat, we kind of made just quick primers on how we think the team races will go for the 5A Scaggs. Post Falls is bringing 19 wrestlers to state. They are going to be competing with Meridian for that title. Meridian gets the nod because they've got 24 guys, and Brian Zollinger on the Matt Chat Prepcast kind of laid it out last night. I said, okay, Post Falls wins the title if, and he said all of their top podium guys have to get the top podium, and that includes some guys that are seated second and third. If Post Falls gets all their dudes to the top of the podium, the Trojans can pull it up. I would say don't bet against Coach Reardon's guys, but we'll see.
If I had the John Madden illustration ability here, I think Post Falls wins if, and it's going to involve those dark horses doing some work for them. And it's going to take, hoping that Meridian kids lose. And especially in the blood rounds, you're going to have to see those Meridian kids not make it to the 5th, 6th match or the 3rd, 4th matches, and they get knocked out in the blood rounds. That their top echelon guys they're gonna hit the podium 1 or 2. Post Falls gonna have to take care of work too, though. I mean, they're gonna have to win their championships. They can't lose close matches at the state tournament. I look at guys like, schools like Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston's bringing 10. If you want to kind of target up north, like Lewiston's got some guys that can do some damage at state. I mean, Hoyt Haas, I think can realistically get his state championship again this year, and Coeur d'Alene's got some guys that can certainly bring home hardware as well. And there's a few guys from Lake City that'll even hit the podium in the top 3. You look at 5A, Post Falls is going to need help with only 19 guys coming. And this is the sad part in the classification change. Could this be the last one of the run for Post Falls at 5A? Because they're not going to get the 2 bids auto bid from the north. Realistically, from here on out, I mean, they're going to have to rely on getting at-large bids because of it going to a 3-team league next year. And so it's going to be interesting to see how things change after this year. And I think Coach Reardon knows that. He's going to use that as a motivation tool and kind of a cattle prod to push his guys through the state tournament. Like, hey, we're going to keep carrying this banner. We've hung them in the gym before. We're going to hang another one this year, but we got to work our tails off to get it.
Yep, for sure. And I could see a situation where Coeur d'Alene and Lewiston help Post Falls by knocking out some, kind of a communal effort there.
Absolutely.
4A tournament, Lakeland's bringing the most from the north at 15. They're in contention for a top 3 finish. Minico BK are going to be 1-2, but a third place spot for Lakeland definitely in the realm of possibilities.
I see the Hawks in the top 5. I really do. There's a school that nobody's really talking about because they're not bringing a ton of kids, but the guys that they're bringing are quality. Moscow. Nobody's really talking about the Bears. The Bears are quietly sneaking in some dudes at the upper weights that are going to do just fine. I mean, they got some guys that can wrestle really well, and I don't know if they're necessarily going to get a podium finish, but I certainly see Moscow getting some guys. They're going to get some team points this year at state and probably bring home a few state placers. Lakeland, they're going to make some noise. I think they got the most just because of the conference that they're in. And Sandpoint, they're going to get a few guys on the podium as well. But the Hawks are going to have to show up if they're going to realistically see a top 5 finish. They're going to have to wrestle their absolute A game because Caldwell with 14 guys, the 14 they're bringing are all dudes that could realistically place in the top 6. So,
right.
If they're gonna try to make a noise for a trophy, they're going to have to bring their absolute A game. Absolutely.
Yep. Here's Travis in the chat from Sandpoint. Go Jordan Tyler, 195 4A. He is the 2 seed in that 4A 195 bracket. We'll keep an eye on it for sure. 3A Scaggs. Timberlake is bringing the most with 15. They are at the back of the line for the dark horses. When Fruitland's bringing 26 guys and Buell's bringing 22 and South Fremont's bringing 20, it's hard.
You gotta. And I've seen that American Falls team as well, the North Idaho Rumble. American Falls should not be a dark horse, in my opinion. But the fact they're over on the right side is kind of surprising for me because I've seen them with my own 2 eyes. But Timberlake's they're going to have a few champs. I think that realistically, I got a couple guys that could realistically finish on the top of the podium. As a team, are they going to get top 5? That's just, I think, too big of a hill to climb for the Tigers, as good as that program is. It's just, then with 26, 22, and 20 and 21, and I mean, Marsh Valley's got dudes on dudes too. That's a big hill to climb. Realistically seeing it kind of 1, 2, 3 with Fruitland, Buell, South Fremont, but American Falls could certainly make things interesting if they show up with a good effort.
Definitely. 2A, 1A, Scaggs. Kellogg is going to be right there. They're bringing 17. That is tied for the most, along with Malad. New Plymouth is lurking also, but I really like Kellogg to finish top 3. And, some things have to break their way. They're going to have to take out some higher seeded people. But there is a chance for Kellogg to claim that 2A state title from the North.
To quote Lloyd Christmas, so you're saying there's a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot's got to break right, but it's, it could happen.
A lot has to go their way. They're going to have to find more guys making it to the second day, than they have historically. But, you talk about a program that's been lurking, kind of a giant that's sleeping, the 2As. Kellogg is that team. And they're going to need help, though, from the other 2A teams in their district. I mean, they're going to need the kids from Priest River to knock off the Malad kids or the New Plymouth kids. They're going to need some of those St. Mary's guys that are coming as well, that are going to need to get big wins and at, the upper weights as well. So they're going to need some help, but I mean, realistically, they do have a really good chance at the top 3 finish. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then in the girls competition, it is all classifications, real crapshoot here. Teams from the North, Bonners Ferry is bringing 6. That is the most of any North Idaho school. Lewiston, of course, with Jolie Slider, that's going to help them out a lot. Moscow's got some individuals as well. This is really, though, Eagles, the defending champ, they're bringing 7. They're still the team to beat until somebody knocks them off. And then, Thunder Ridge and Canyon Ridge are both looking really strong this year too.
Bonners Ferry kind of just, operating in like the witness protection program up north. I mean, they've been kind of operating off the radar, and they're an exciting group of girls that wrestle really hard. And these Badgers, I think, there's some realistic placers there in that group of 6 that's coming down. Post Falls is bringing a wrestler. Moscow's got a good crew. Lewiston's got some good kids. So, there's, like I said, I think they're going to need to help each other out. There's going to have to be like this kind of camaraderie that's like, if we're going to think of this as more of a regional finish than an individual. If you're going to help out Bonners Ferry, Lewiston kids are going to have to stake a claim in some of their victories there too for Bonners Ferry to finish up on top. But it's any girls game in this tournament. This girls state tournament is just absolutely loaded compared to years past too. And I think we've been seeing that with the participation numbers, the playing field's leveling, and you're starting to see, more kind of equal representation, which shows you that the level of competition is definitely increasing in the girls' ranks, and this tournament's definitely taking off.
And how about Bonners Ferry going up against Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, Sandpoint, and coming away with the most wrestlers from the North, because it's an all-North district, right? It's Bonners Ferry competing against Coeur d'Alene and all these others, and so that's pretty impressive there as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're going to wrap up with boys basketball here in just a moment. But first, if you're from Idaho and you're between the ages of 13 and 18 years old, enter the No Vape video contest to expose the shadowy commercial tobacco marketing tactics behind vaping. Just create and upload your 90-second vape bashing masterpiece, and you could win a portion of more than $10,000 in prize money being awarded. Deadline to enter is April 1st. Winners will be announced May 1st. Raise your voice about the dangers of vaping and win big cash prizes thanks to No Vape Idaho. A lot of good scenery up here in North Idaho, Scaggs. A lot of places our local teens could go and film this 90-second anti-vape commercial.
There's a lot of, I'll say this about North Idaho because we get to see this on the broadcasting side. There is a lot of kids that are involved in broadcasting at the various high schools and stuff. This is a cool opportunity to kind of show your worth and show your mettle. We've been lucky enough to have some of those kids join us on some of the stuff that we've done, running camera for games that we've done, and an opportunity for them to earn some money in a good legit cause. I mean, like, this is something that is plaguing teens and youth across the country, the use of vaping, and being able to kind of expel that whole thing in society would be great. So why not make a video about it and earn yourself some cash?
I'm thinking right away those Lewiston High broadcasting students have been crushing it with the White Pine District tournament, and they did the Golden Throne. We were there for Idaho Sports as well. Those kids are awesome. That's what it should be for high school broadcasting kids. Look at what Lewiston's doing on their YouTube channel. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. Huge shout out to them. I mean, they were there at the Avista tournament too the entire time we were there. I mean, they were working their tails off, and they had different angles, and they did a great job, phenomenal job.
Yeah, being a school club, you get some of that funding that Idaho Sports can't quite tap into. They got some cool things going on there. A little few more wrinkles than what we can offer, but it's really cool. Yeah, and Lewiston High Bengals. I want to see your anti-vape piece. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, boys basketball district tournament. Scaggs, let's rip through these brackets. Hey, congrats, Coeur d'Alene. District 1-2 champs. They beat Post Falls in the district championship last night, 57-46. Post Falls has gotten so close so many times against the Vikings this year, but no time to worry about that. They've got to turn around and host Lake City Thursday night for a chance to fight Centennial in a state play-in game. Lake City knocked out Lewiston last night, 68-55. But first, congrats to the Vikings. Moving on to state. This is really shaping up because there's been some crazy upsets in District 3. Middleton, the 8 seed from District 3, already clinched a spot at state.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is shaping up to be a Owyhee 1, Madison 2, and anybody after that. And Coeur d'Alene is right in that mix.
Yeah, Coeur d'Alene, I mean, in the media poll, I believe they're ranked number 3.
Right.
Max Preps rankings, I don't know how that's going to shake out with everything going on, but this Vikings team, I mean, realistically, if they can get on the opposite seed line from Owyhee, don't be surprised you see them in a title game. I mean, this Viking team, you and I have seen them with our own eyes. They can flat shoot the ball. If they don't go through cold streaks, we saw that in that Post Falls game. If they can go into a state tournament and just consistently play through, I mean, that's a team that can, match offensive firepower with anyone.
Right now, your top 4 in Max Prep. So Owyhee 1, Coeur d'Alene 2, Timberline 3, Madison 4. And all 4 of those teams have clinched. So you're talking about the 2 teams that were 1-2 in the polls all year, Owyhee, Madison being on the same side of the bracket. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene could play the way in the title.
Absolutely. The Vikings could slide right into that title game. I mean, they still have to play, Timberline kind of on pseudo home turf if that's how things hold suit. But we've seen strange things happen though in the state tournament at 5A where 8 seeds make runs into the state championship game. So, don't hold your breath that like things hold suit and run chalk. But this Viking team definitely is a contender. I look at things that stranger things have happened, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And so I really do like Post Falls in this. I projected Post Falls the entire way in my bracketology to be that second team. Even when they were the number 3 seed coming into districts, they really tied with Lake City. It was that big 3-way tie between Lewiston, Lake City, Post Falls. I just feel like Post Falls is playing the best right now. And I would give Post Falls a really good chance of advancing out of this game too. I watched Centennial last night.
Yeah. I would love to see it for that group at Post Falls that, overcoming adversity and finishing last in your league for, 2 years in a row. And then your senior year going out on a high note, trying to get a big win in a play-in game. And, that's a team that can shoot. I mean, we talk about streaky teams too, but that Post Falls team can play. And and the one thing I'll give them late in the year, good guard play. That goes a long ways. And they got one of the best point guards that I've seen in North Idaho in a while, in Neil McCarthy. That kid can flat play. So, I like Post Falls' chances, but they got to get past Lake City too. That's been a tough game for them this year. They finally kind of overcame that bug in the district tournament, but that was a team they were kind of snake bit going back and forth with during the regular season.
Yep, it's going to be interesting for sure. That is it, Scaggs, for North Idaho teams that have clinched. It's Coeur d'Alene, and that's it. Yeah. all the rest will be determined here over the next couple of nights. Let's go. 4A, Sandpoint, the 3 seed, shocks Lakeland, the 2 seed. Lakeland had like an 8-point lead.
11.
11 point
lead. Yeah.
And Sandpoint came back and stunned them. And now they got to play. This is a tall task, right? They got to play Moscow starting in the best of 3 series tonight in Moscow. I like the Bears here, but.
Yep. I like the Bears coming out of this. And that's the Bears. Like I said, they've got some really nice pieces in that lineup. Like their record is kind of deceiving, but I saw them play Lapway and it's like, hey, this team could realistically be really good, if they turn everything on every night. But yeah, I like the Bears coming out of this one and taking that bid to state.
And Moscow is probably going to be a 7 or 8, depending on what happens if they get there. Sandpoint would definitely be the 8 if they got to state. Speaking of best of 3 game series, Bonners Ferry and Timberlake up there in 3A got it started last night, and Bonners Ferry, I think, making a statement. 77-33 the final. Badgers will have a chance to close it out Thursday night, and then they would move on to state, where I think they have as good of a chance as anybody to win it all.
Absolutely. I mean, Snake River's had a great year too, but I think this Bonners Ferry team, they've got great pieces. The biggest thing is, like, you look at how they play; they are gelled, man. They know where, like, each guy's out on the floor. Their spacing's always great. That just comes with time of playing with each other and relying on the brothers on the floor, and they do a great job with that. They've got, one of the best coaches in North Idaho leading that group, and that Badgers team is a legit title contender. Absolutely.
I can't tell you with the seedings yet because there's kind of a small problem with the 3A rankings. We talked about this on the Treasure Valley Prepcast.
Problem with the Max Preps ranking? Sorry.
McCall Donnelly is 18-1 this year. They
Yeah.
are already locked into a spot at state. They are not in the Max Preps rankings at all. The school that is, quote unquote, in the 3A classification is a second McCall Donnelly team that was created somehow. And so this 18-1 McCall Donnelly team, none of that data is in Max Prep system right now for 3A. That is going to have wide-ranging rippling effects if and when they ever catch this. So what a mess. So I can't really tell right now. Bonners Ferry is the 2, but that could change. I don't know. And you can't go off bad data. So stay tuned.
I could realistically see Bonners Ferry as a 3 seed, and does it really matter? I mean, you're going to stay on the bottom half away from Snake River, but yeah, I mean, if things change and all of a sudden McCall becomes the 1 seed, I mean, then we got some issues, but yeah, it's things could get interesting real quick once that gets caught. But I mean, like I said, Max Preps, like, we got nothing else. Like, but that's another Prepcast for another day. So yeah,
that's why the last one ran long. That's why we were running behind here. Yeah, so somebody should be looking at this stuff though. It only takes one person to let me check in, make sure everything's right with Max Preps. But no, not happening.
I mean, that would have been you did have the new incoming IHSAA director on, during halftime of the 5A championship game that, like, let's steal them on over for a Prepcast episode. I'm just saying.
No, like, I think that's a great idea. Chad Williams the new executive director starting July 1st, came on at halftime of the 5A championship game. We had a great conversation. And so, yes, I like that idea. That's good. I'll put a pin in it.
I'm excited to see what he does too. I think he's going to do a good job for the state of Idaho and the kids in this state.
Yep, definitely. Okay, 2A. We had the play-in game Monday where Kellogg is just, I don't know what it is. They beat Orofino earlier this year. Orofino was the 2 seed. Priest River went to Kellogg and won the play-in game 54-31. Wasn't really close. And so what did a coach tell me in the preseason? Priest River would have been the overwhelming favorite in this league if Tyler Engelson hadn't transferred to Timberlake. And so that told me, okay, Priest River's still going to be pretty good. Here they are. They pushed St. Mary's last night, the number 1 seed, before falling by 7, 49-42. That was a back and forth game. Orofino an easier time with Grangeville 72-55. So now you've got St. Mary's hosting Orofino Wednesday night in the district championship. Winner moves on to state. Priest River is going to travel to Grangeville. I kind of like Priest River there. And then, you're looking at Priest River and Orofino potentially, Priest River, St. Mary's rematch. These 4 teams are all evenly matched. Even St. Mary's, when they played Grangeville earlier this year, had to put them away late. So this one is really wide open.
Yeah, because I had the call with Greg Frisbee in that St. Mary's Kendrick game. If it goes that way, I mean, St. Mary's in trouble. But that's a team that's Jekyll and Hyde, because they feast or famine from beyond the arc, and if they're off big. If they're on, they will blow the doors off you. So it kind of depends on what St. Mary's team shows up tonight to see if they can just clinch it outright and put things away. Would be beneficial to that group, those Lumberjacks. I know they've got some good pieces. I mean, there's some kids on that team that play really hard. You're a good player that I think has been kind of under the radar in North Idaho, but Yeah, it'll be interesting. This league is like a giant question mark. If Orfino wins tonight, I'm like sitting here and I'm like, okay, like I get it, but I don't know if they will or not. But like, I mean, St. Mary's just got to show up and play their game.
Yeah. In the regular season, quickly looking at it here, St. Mary's did go 7-1 in league play. They had some really close encounters in there. They did beat Orofino 75-61, but they also lost to Orofino in the first matchup 81-69. So true coin flip here. This is one of the more fascinating tournaments statewide going on at districts now.
And if they make it to a play-in, like, no way. Like, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Anybody getting this becoming a 2-bid league, I think it's just the one auto bid, but yeah.
Yeah, because you're looking at either Melba or Coal Valley Christian, who's lost twice all season, being in this play-in game. So yeah, for sure. All right, 1A D1 Scaggs up at North Idaho College last night. We had the opening round. Lakeside, of course, the defending state champs. They had the number 1 seed. They got the bye. How about Genesis Prep? G Prep, the 3, knocking off Wallace, the 2. By 14, 69-55. So now it's the Jaguars, trying to do the impossible, what we say is the impossible, and that's knock out Lakeside. What a huge moment that would be for Genesis Prep. That
would be on the scale of, are you kidding me? How in the world did that take place? That's way up there. I still like Lakeside as a dark horse favorite to win it all, so I don't see that happening. I don't know in the alternate universe what has to take place for that to occur. But if it did, I mean, that's one of the stories of the year. I'll tell you that one. That'd be the biggest upset of the season. But this Lakeside team is really, really good, and they are absolutely legit title contenders in a wide open 1A D1.
Yeah, really and truly, this was nice for G Prep to get the win over Wallace. They split in the regular season with them. They did lose pretty significantly to Lakeside twice in the regular season. I like Lakeside here. And then the fact that they got to go to a play-in game is just funny to me, but it's whatever. They're going to win that too. They're going to get the state. They're going to be right there in the mix. And
you mentioned the 2 seed and defending state champ had to play in a play-in game just to make it in the state tournament. Like, where does that make sense? But
anyways, a human could help with that. But meanwhile, chalk for the most part at the White Pine tournament. District championship game is tonight in Lewiston. Number 1 Lapway, number 2 Potlatch. On the back half of the bracket, you've got Kamei, the 3, taking on Troy, the 5. Troy knocking off Logos here in the opening round, 69-58, propelled Troy into this Final Four scenario. I like Kamei to advance here. And really, I was surprised, not that Potlatch won this semifinal over Kamei, but the fact that they did it by 16, 56-40. So really, to me, Lapway and Potlatch, to me, seem pretty secure, and they're going to be the 2 teams that get to state.
You would think so, but I know that Kamei and Potlatch have had some closer games earlier in the year as well. So I don't know if that margin of victory is a statistical outlier. But realistically, I would agree with you. I think, of all the teams that are there, Potlatch and Lapway are the 2 of the better teams, but Kamei has been in the mix too. I mean, this realistically, it's like, yeah, I mean, let Kamei go play in the play-in game instead of Lakeside, but that's what it is. But yeah, no, I like the Wildcats to win outright. And then I think Potlatch is your second bid to state.
Yep, they did lose to Kamei by a point right at the very end of the regular season, so it remains to be seen. And Lapway has won by like 12-14 each time they've played Potlatch. Can the Loggers cut it to single digits and keep it close? We will find out. And finally, 1A D2 Scaggs last night also at North Idaho College. We had number 2 Kootenai take out number 3 Mullen, 64-30. So you've got the Warriors taking on the Wampus Cats Thursday night in the district championship. Clark Fork the 1, Kootenai the 2. Kootenai went this year, Scaggs, from not winning a game since 2019 to getting that checked off against a JV opponent to then beating Mullen for their first varsity win in some time to now getting a win at districts. I mean, they are just checking all the boxes here with Tom Tucker, their head coach this year. This is kind of a cool story.
It's a great story and great to see them rally and find some finally a little bit of, I guess, getting some victories in the win column. for a team that's had such problems with getting turnout and being able to field the team, to getting a victory in the district tournament, that's a big deal for that group. And I like the Olympus Cats to win outright. I think that team, our friends at the Daily Bee and they're high on the Wampus Cats as a sneaky team to keep an eye on because of their senior leadership. So I think Clark Fork wins outright tonight. It sadly ends a really nice story at the end of the year for this Kootenai team. But Clark Fork is a team that, realistically could maybe win a game at state. I mean, if they lose in the opening round, I could see them winning on the second day possibly. But, they got to get through that play-in game first, obviously, to find their way there.
Right. Kootenai in the regular season did play Clark Fork twice. Neither game was Clark Fork won both pretty easily, but still a great moment for the Warriors. And Chris Moore has been playing really well for them this year. He's put up some big point totals, only a junior, so it'll be fun to watch him again next year as well. And then our last one here, 1A D2, the White Pine League. We had the play-in games on Monday. Timberline beats Nez Perce in the 4-5 matchup. Highland beats St. John Bosco in the 3-6 matchup. Look at how close this game was last night. Number 3 Highland, number 2 Deary. Deary wins by a point, 43-42. They'll play Kendrick for the district championship Thursday night in Lapwai. Kendrick won easily, 64-19. This to me is all about the rematch between Deary and Highland. Now Highland's got to get past Timberline, right? That's not a guarantee, but I can't wait for that rematch in the winner take all chance to go to state.
Yeah, and that'd be a great opportunity for one of those teams to sneak into the tournament. And it's everybody. All their attention's always gone to Kendrick this year, and rightfully so. I mean, that team has been running roughshod on everybody, but the sneaky second team out of this district, I mean, can they go to state and make some noise? I mean, realistically, if you're able to be competitive in this conference, I think absolutely. We've seen, the Timberlines and the other teams go down as a 2 seed and, make it into the tournament and steal a game or, make something interesting late. So will either of those teams threaten for the state title? No, as far as, who makes it in, but from the second team of the conference, like I said, the attention's gone to Kendrick and rightfully so. That Coach Silflo's done a great job with that group, and they're poised in my mind to repeat. But hats off to a great season for whoever makes it out of this in the second bid out of the conference. I know that the game still has yet to been played, so I can't crown Kendrick as champion yet. But Deary making a nice run is pretty cool to see.
And this will sound weird, but for Highland, they actually match up with Deary better than they match up with Timberline, if that makes sense. Because what is Highland? Highland's got height this year, and it just Coach Monty Madrell says we've never had height. We have it now. They've got Knowlton at 6'4". Noah Watson's also 6'4" underneath. Deary doesn't have a ton of height, and so that's where Highland has a good matchup. Timberline, though, has some height, right? They've got Christopherson, and they've got Ryland West, who isn't tall but is strong and can battle inside. And so they did split in the regular season. Absolutely. Yes, they split in the regular season. So we'll see who advances there. But this, to me, the race for second is what's intriguing to me out of that district there. So, all right, a couple of quick comments, and then we're going to get out. Hoyt and Brock, I want to thank you both for covering these kids and their accomplishments, even basketball. Your hard work is more than appreciated. Much love, fellas. Yes, thank you. We appreciate it. This is what we do it for, is for these young men and women and these coaches in our community to raise them up, get the spotlight to shine on them a little bit. And then they followed up with showing up late. Did I miss the wrestling talk? You did.
You did. We went off too. I was pretty in depth.
Yep. So you'll have to go back and watch it on replay, which you can do anytime at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter account. You can also listen to this podcast on IdahoSports.com, as well as wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, etc. Just type in the North Idaho Prepcast and it will pop up. All right, Scaggs. Oh, go ahead.
I'll end with one comment about that. What Hoyt said too is that I was talking with another colleague of ours that excuse me, doesn't work here. That makes for terrible audio, by the way. That doesn't work at IdahoSports.com, but he's in the industry with us. And we were talking about everybody, it's about the kids and broadcasters. We just have a seat on the side of the court to tell the kids' story. And so, we want to thank the parents and the communities around these kids too, for allowing us to have the access to spotlight them, because without the families and everything wrapped around these kids, that, the stories wouldn't get told. And like, Al Fontes's article about Hoyt Haas from Lewiston, like just a phenomenal background story of him. We talked about it a few weeks ago, but there's stories like that at every single school. And so, that's the cool part about doing this, is that if it's for the kids and we do it for the kids, it makes this sharing part easy, because, we get to have the relationships outside of yakking behind a microphone. We get to talk to them after games or before games or at halftime or whatever. And there's, these little quick conversations that we always get to have, but it makes what we do, there's a reward to it that's not for us. And that's the great part about doing this.
Yep, for sure. I couldn't have said it any better, so I won't. Thank you for tuning into the North Idaho Prepcast, everybody. Hey, Scaggs, next week, in place of the normal show, we'll have a couple of special Prepcasts. We'll have our Idaho Mat Chat state wrestling recap, where we recap everything that happened. And then we're also going to have our IdahoSports.com boys basketball state tournament preview special. So, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks to really break it all down. So,
and some Scagsies in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Scagsies. Hey, North Idaho 9, you can check out at an Idaho game night.
Yep.
Scaggs will put his North Idaho 9 for girls and boys basketball on social media this week. We can't give it all away in the Prepcast, right?
That's right. No, you guys got to dig a little bit. You can't spoon feed all of you.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Travel safe wherever you're headed this weekend. For Ryan Scaggs, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you next time on the North Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.